Okay, let's recap these three verbs. We have yada, ra'a, and karav. In the call form, yada means to know, ra'a is to see, karav is to come near. In the hifl form, yada is to make known, in ra'a it's to make see, and for karav it's to bring near, or more accurately, to cause to come near. The nifl form of yada is to be known, of ra'a it's to be seen, and karav is to be brought near. In Genesis 27 verse 4 we have, that my soul may bless thee before I die. In Exodus 4 verse 24 we have, Yahweh met him and sought to kill him. Now we have two different verbs in these two verses. We have die and we have kill. However, in the Hebrew, it's the same verb, mamot. Why use the same verb but have different translations? That's because in Genesis 27:4, the verb mamot is in the call form, the simple form, which simply means to die. However, in Exodus 4:24, we have the hifl form, the causative, and that means to make die or to cause to die. So this could literally be translated as Yahweh met him and sought to make him die. However, in English, we use two different verbs for the same Hebrew verb. In Isaiah 24 verse 9, we read, strong drink is bitter to those who drink it. And then in Exodus 23 verse 21, obey his voice, provoke him not. Again, two different verbs in English, but in Hebrew it's the same verb, marar. Marar means in the call form to be bitter. But in the hifl form, it means to cause to be bitter or make bitter. Literally what this verse is saying is obey his voice, do not make him bitter. But the translators chose to remove this literalness of the verb and replace it with a more abstract verb in English, provoke. In Deuteronomy 28 verse 12 we read, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. Interestingly, we have two verbs, lend and borrow, two different verbs in English, still the same verb in Hebrew, lava. And lava means to bind. Where the translators have used the word lend, it's in the hifl form, and it means to make bound. Where it's translated as borrow, it's the call form, the simple form, to be bound. We can literally translate this verse as, and you shall make many nations be bound, but you shall not be bound. When a verb is written in its different forms, it doesn't change the meaning, but it does slightly add a nuance to that verb. And now we come to the verb bara. If the verb bara means to create, then in the call form, it would mean created. In the nifl passive form, it would be created, and in the hifl form, it would be make created or cause to be created. So let's take a look at three verses. In Genesis 1:1, we have the call form of the verb. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And it looks like that works. Now let's take a look at a verse with the nifl form of the verb. And the people which shall be created shall praise Yahweh. And that works. Now let's take a look at the hifl form of the verb in 1 Samuel 2:29. And honorest thy sons above me, to make yourselves created with the chiefest of all the offerings. Now, that doesn't exactly make sense to me. Let's try this if the verb means to fatten or to fill. In the call form it would be filled, in the nifl form be filled, and in the hifl form make full. So again we look at 1 Samuel 2:29 and we have, and honorest thy sons above me, to make yourselves full or fat with the chiefest of all the offerings. Now that makes sense. In fact, that is how the translators translate the Hiffel form of this verb in this verse. Now let's take a look at our verse using the Niffel form, Psalms 102 verse 18. And the people which shall be filled shall praise Yahweh. That makes sense to me as well. And then we look at our call form in Genesis 1 verse 1. In the beginning, God filled the heavens and the earth. Well, the question might be asked, why did God fill the heavens and the earth? Well, Genesis 1 verse 2 tells us, because the earth was empty.